In today's video, we're picking my fall TBR. That is so cool, Motorcycle Performer. There's a lot of books on my TBR that I'm questioning if I'm gonna get to. Hey guys, it's Emma, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am doing a TBR video, but we are not going to be using the prompts or the board game, nothing like that. I've decided to just choose a seasonal TBR, so that's what we're doing. We're picking my fall TBR. I might be a little bit early because it is still August, it is still summer technically until like mid-September, but for me, as soon as September hits, it is fall. Where I live, you don't really get that fall season. The leaves do not change colors, none of that really happens, so really it's just in my head, the vibes. I have to like kind of romanticize it, so I think reading in the fall is the best way to kind of romanticize and get in a fall mood. So I'm really excited to talk about the books that I want to read in the fall. Now, am I going to read all of these books that I'm going to be talking about today? Probably not. I'm not the best at having a TBR, like a set TBR, but I think having a variety of books to choose from instead of like a short amount is gonna help me more. And I have a series that I want to get through specifically, but I also have some fantasy books that I want to get into because I've only read a few fantasy books and I think I want to start getting more into that. So let's get into it. Let's talk about all the books we are reading this fall. I have a stack of physical books that I have, and then I think I have like 3 books that I don't have physically. 1 second. Anyway, I can't really remember what I was saying, but we're going to get into the books that I have right here. First book we have is Things I Wanted to Say. Also, let me preface that in my summer TBR video, I think, I had a lot of these books on my TBR, I believe, and I didn't get to them because in the summer is when I was kind of in a slump. And I will say right now, I don't think I'm in a slump, but I have been reading slower than I usually do. So, like I said, don't know if I'm going to be able to read all of these books, but I have high hopes because I've been more like excited to read than I was in the summertime. So, wanted to give that little warning. But first book is Things I Wanted to Say. The only things I've heard about this book is that it takes place at a like prep school, I believe. I don't know, I've heard these kids are kind of like crazy. So it sounds like drama, gossip. I just feel like this is giving fall because obviously school is starting again, and I think this will be so fun to read about. In the back, Whit Lancaster burst into my life like a storm. We don't have to read all of that. The school with his family name on the sign, he can do no wrong here, this is his domain. He's a menace on campus, hated and respected, his taunting words carve into my skin. Yet his intense gaze scorches my blood, fills me with a longing I don't understand. When he comes to my rescue one night, he ends up broken, bleeding. My instinct screams to leave and let him suffer, but I can't. I sneak him into my room, fall for his lies, let him possess every single part of me until I'm the one left, a gasping, broken mess. He leaves me alone in the dead of night, taking my journal with him. Now he knows all my secrets, my truth, and he promises to use my words against me. I'll be ruined if my darkest secret gets out. That's when I strike a bargain with the devil. So I guess this is maybe like a dark romance, and I think now is just a perfect time to read dark romance. I've had A Million Kisses. Oh, I don't have it on my shelf. I've had A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime on my shelf for a long time, but I didn't realize that this one was the first one, I believe, in the series. So I am honestly really excited to pick this one up. I have so many books on my radar that it's frustrating because I know I can't read them all, but I just want to be able to read them all at the same time. Next, this one is very high on my TBR. This is Time of Your Life by Jessa Hastings. If you don't know, Jessa Hastings wrote the Magnolia Park series. That is my favorite book series ever that I've ever read in my whole entire life. So the fact that I haven't read this yet, this came out in July and it's about to be September, is crazy. But like I said, I hadn't been in the mood to read. I've been binging another series, trying to get back into like the reading mood, and I've been feeling good about it. So I think after I finish that series, I will jump into this book. This is about I think the guy is in a band, the girl is like a famous model or actress. I assume there's going to be a lot of drama in this book. That's what Jessa Hastings is known for. But it says it's 1995. Joa is the brash. Why should we have crazy words in here? He is the frontman of the biggest band in the world. Isolde is the iconic, what am I saying? Isolde is the iconic face of a generation. She's who people write their songs about, the kind of girl who could ruin a man. He doesn't fall and she doesn't chase, but from the moment they meet, it's head first, reckless and inevitable. Too much, too fast, too consuming. Loving Isolde makes Joel feel alive, but it also makes him feel trapped. Her star burns just as bright as his, and he doesn't know how to be with someone he can't control. The more he wants her, the more he resents her for it. But fame is corrosive, and so is love. Neither Isolde nor Joa were built to survive both, because some loves don't end, they can't, so they just destroy you. Again, it just sounds like this big dramatic like love, and especially that they're both famous, I think this is just gonna be so much fun to read about. So I'm really excited to get to this book. Next, I have the Mindfuck series. So this is a series. This has like 5 books in it. So this is literally the whole series in one book. I have heard crazy, amazing things about this. I know my best friend Marcella loves this series, and I remember her reading it and like binging it. So this is honestly very intriguing to me. I think all I know from this is that the girl is a serial killer for serial killers. No, that's Butcher and Blackbird. This girl is a serial killer for like people that have done her wrong or have done other people wrong. I'm not quite really sure. And then the male main character is a detective that is on her case. That just sounds so interesting. It sounds like it would be a TV show. So honestly, again, this is another like dark romance that would be high on my radar for the fall time. And this is really good because it's not a fantasy. It's a dark romance, so it's kind of still in my realm, like my genre that I like. Romance is just darker, so I think it'll be, again, perfect for the fall time. Next, we have Brutal Prince. This is another one that I've had on my TBR for a while. I remember reading the back and being intrigued by it. I also saw this on TikTok and had just been hearing a lot of it, so I just decided to buy it, and it's been sitting on my shelf, so I think this is the perfect time to be reading it. It says, the Griffins and the Gallows have been battling for control of Chicago's underworld for generations. Their rivalry has always been flammable, but it reignites with a fury when Ada, the youngest and wildest Gallows sibling, crashes a party at the Griffin mansion and accidentally sets fire to the library. To stave all-out war, her father quickly arranges a marriage between her and Callum Griffin, eldest son and heir to the Irish mafia. Cold, ambitious, and brutal, Callum is determined to tame his headstrong new bride, but Ada is more than capable of giving as good as she gets, starting with poisoning Callum on their wedding night. The problem is, murdering him would be a lot easier if he didn't look so good while she was trying to do it. Again, it's like kind of a romance, but they're like these rich families, I guess, in the mafia. Sounds interesting. It's a very short book too, so it's not like much of a commitment. It is kind of a commitment because it is a long-ish series. I do want to finish a couple series before I start new ones, but I am very close to finishing a lot of series. So this is also high on my radar for the fall time. Next, we have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This one is also high on my radar. I want this to be like one of the first fantasy books that I read for the fall this year, because obviously I've heard such amazing things about Powerless. If you haven't heard this book, you probably have been living under a rock. This one is about a girl. She is known as an ordinary, I'm pretty sure, and ordinaries are people that don't have like sort of powers, and then I think the elites have powers, and she has to live within the elite. She has to act like she has powers, and then she comes across Kai. She's thrown into purging trials, a competition showcasing the elite's power. So I think she has to pretend to have powers in like this competition. I know this is like known as a YA book, which I didn't know until like probably a couple months ago. Again, I've heard such good things about this book, this series. It's only a trilogy, so it's not that much of a commitment, and I really do think if I have my eyes set on it, I could finish the series by this year. So yeah, this is another book that I really want to get to this fall. Next book we have is Hooked. I'm pretty sure this is another dark romance, and I think all the books in this series are retellings of like fairy tales. So I think this one is about like a Peter Pan retelling, or the pirate. What is the pirate's name? Is it Captain Hook? I'm not sure. But let's read the back. It says, I keep getting messages. James has always had one agenda: destroy his enemy, Peter Michaels. When Peter's 20-year-old daughter, Wendy, shows up in James' bar, he sees his way in. Seduce the girl and use her for his revenge. It's the perfect plan until things in James's organization begin to crumble. Suddenly, he has to find the traitor in his midst, and his plan for revenge gets murkier as James starts to see Wendy as more than just a pawn in his game. Wendy has been cloistered away most of her life by her cold, wealthy father, but a spontaneous night out with friends turns into an intense and addictive love affair with the dark and brooding James. As much as she knows James is dangerous, Wendy can't seem to shake her desire for him, but as their relationship grows more heated and she learns more about the world he moves in, she finds herself unsure if she's falling for the man known as James or the monster known as Hook. So yeah, I think it's like a Captain Hook kind of retelling, Neverland, Wendy, obviously. And I've heard of the other books. I think there's like Little Mermaid, probably like Cinderella. I can't really remember, but this sounds really interesting. It's a romance. It's a dark romance, perfect for the fall time. Then the next two books are the last two books in the Addicted Calloway Sisters series. The Long Way Down is the next one that I have to read. I'm currently reading Fuel the Fire, which is about Rose and Connor, and this is the series that I have been binging. It's kind of been helping me get out of my slump because I was like, you know what? Let me get back into a series where I know the characters already and I'm comfortable with the characters. I love the characters. So I decided to just binge the Addicted series, and then when I'm done, I'll start reading other books. The next book that I have to read after Fuel the Fire is Long Way Down. This one is about Daisy and Reich. A lot of things are going to get concluded. I don't know what Reich is. Oh, Reich just had... Or I don't know if I should say this, because if you haven't read the series or if you're mid-series, I probably shouldn't say it, but Reich just went through something, so I assume in this book we're going to be following him along that journey and how he's doing. And then Daisy has always struggled with kind of sleeping. She has PTSD from the show that they did, so I assume in this book maybe we'll get her healing from it and feeling a lot better. This book is very thick, but I love reading so much about these characters, and these books fly by, so I'm excited to get to this book because they are definitely one of my favorite couples in the series. The last book in that series is Some Kind of Perfect. I think is just kind of a big epilogue book. It says, Lily and Laura, childhood best friends and soulmates. Reich and Daisy are wild risk takers and flirty adventurers. Connor and Rose are genius rivals and intellectual teammates. After 10 years of laughter, of heartache and love, they're all back one final time. So I assume this is just like one big epilogue book. I think this one is just going to be so good to have all the characters like together. I don't know if we get all their point of views in this book, or yeah, I think it's from all of their point of views too, so it's gonna be so nice to get a book with all their point of views in one and just like a final book to their stories. So those two books I'm very excited for, obviously, because I'm like in the middle of that series. Next, I have the Ruinous Love trilogy. I recently read Butcher and Blackbird. It wasn't one of my like favorite books ever, but it was very interesting. I'm interested to see how the other two books go. So Butcher and Blackbird was about two serial killers that kill other serial killers, and this one, I don't really know what the others are about because the first one was like a pretty dark romance, so I don't know what the next two are about. So Leather and Lark is the second book. This one says, after contract killer Lachlan Kane botches a job for his boss's biggest client, he knows he'll never claw his way out of the underworld, at least not until Songbird Lark Montauk offers him a deal. Hunt down a killer and she'll secure his freedom. The catch? He has to marry her and they can't stand each other. Indie singer-songwriter Lark is the sunshine that burns through the darkness Lachlan Kane tries to hide behind. Lachlan might think Lark is just a privileged princess, but the truth is that she keeps plenty of secrets. With her formidable family in a tailspin and her best friend's happiness on the line, Lark's willing to make a vow to the man she's determined to hate, no matter how tempting the broody assassin might be. As they navigate the mission that binds them together, it becomes impossible to discern their fake marriage from a real one, but the restless ghosts left in their wake are only a few steps behind, ready to claim more than just their newfound love. So I honestly don't really understand what it is. I don't know why they're marrying each other. Yeah, I don't really know, but all I got from that was that it's fake dating, and I love a good fake dating trope because you see the tension of them like, do I really want to marry you, but like, yes, I kind of want to be like actually with you. So this sounds interesting. And then the next book, or the last book in this trilogy, Scythe and Sparrow, it says Dr. Fionn Kane is running from a broken heart when he hopes to mend in small town Nebraska, far away from his almost fiancée and his derailed surgical career. It's a simpler life, head down, hard work, and absolutely no romantic relationships. He wants none of the circus he left behind in Boston. But then the real circus finds him. Motorcycle performer Rose Evans. That is so cool. Motorcycle performer. She has spent a decade on the road with the Silveria Circus, and it suits her just fine, especially when she has the urge to indulge in a little murder when she's not in the spotlight. But when a kill goes awry, she ends up with a broken leg. Rose finds herself stuck in Nebraska at the home of the adorably nerdy town doctor. So he's a nerdy town doctor, and she's a motorcycle performer who also murders. So I guess this whole trilogy is like dark romance. I didn't know they were all kind of just like killing people, but I guess so. So I'm really interested how this whole series is going to go and how I'm going to enjoy them. And then the next two books, we have a lot of series coming up because I am in the middle of so many and my goal is to get through them. So the next one is I don't know what this series is called. I think it's just Once Upon a Broken Heart. I don't really know, but I read Once Upon a Broken Heart last year, I think, and then for some reason I just didn't jump into the next books, so I want to get back into them. I also want to honestly listen to the audiobook of not Curse of True Love, Once Upon a Broken Heart, because I don't know if I remember much that happened. After I do that, I want to get back into this series. So the next one is The Ballad of Never After. I've heard really good things about this book. I think people's favorite, like the majority, is this one. It says, after Jax, the Prince of Hearts, betrays her, she'll never trust him again. But when a terrifying new curse is revealed, she finds herself entering into a tenuous partnership with the Prince of Hearts again. To break the curse, Evangeline and Jax will have to do battle with old friends, new foes, and a magic that plays with hearts and hearts. Evangeline has always trusted her heart, but this time she's not sure she can. I'm pretty sure we're just following where we left off. That's why I really need to read the last book again just to remember. Excited for this one. And then A Curse for True Love is the final book in the series. Well, maybe I shouldn't read the back, because what if there's a spoiler in the back? Again, this is just the finale book to the series. This book, it's very like fairy tale-esque. There are certain like curses, and I don't really know what they're called. It's like these sort of gods. They're not gods, but it's these like people that have like curses, and you shouldn't go and visit them, shouldn't go and talk to them, because you will probably get cursed, or you can't make a deal with them. And Evangeline basically didn't listen to that. She made a deal, and now she had to deal with that in the first book. These next two books are just, I guess, following those consequences. But again, this is another series that I am excited for. Oh, I didn't realize I had this in here. The next one is another book that's in a trilogy. This is the last book in the Good Girls Guide to Murder trilogy. This is As Good as Dead. I did try to start this book, and then I just wasn't in the mood for it, so I stopped. But I do want to get back into this because I loved this series so much, and they did start coming out with the TV series, just the first season, and I really liked that too. So I definitely want to read this before the next seasons come out. But in the last two books, she was kind of solving other people's cases. But in this one, I'm pretty sure someone is coming after her, and she's trying to figure out what's happening and like who's coming after her, who's kind of stalking her. So sounds very interesting. I assume a lot of things will be wrapped up in this book. So obviously very exciting. And then the last book in my fall TBR is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This one is also very high on my radar. I have heard such good things about this book. I keep getting like TikToks on my For You page saying that this is the perfect fall book. It's only this book. It's a fantasy, but it's not like a crazy fantasy or crazy world. It's just kind of magical, I think. I have been wanting to read this book since last year, I think, and I've just never got into it. But this book I feel like is not really much of a commitment. Like I said, it's just this book. So I really have this high on my radar to read. This one, I'm pretty sure she basically makes a deal with the devil, I assume. I'm not really sure. But it says, in a moment of desperation in 1714, a young woman named Adeline meets a dangerous stranger and makes a terrible mistake. As she realizes the limitations of her Faustian bargain, being able to live forever without being able to be remembered by anyone she sees, Addie chooses to flee her small village as everything she once held dear is torn away. There are still dreams to be had and a life to live, and she is determined to find excitement and satisfaction in the wide, beckoning world, even if she will be doomed to be alone forever. Or not quite alone, as every year on their anniversary, the alluring Look comes to visit, checking to see if she's ready to give up her soul. Their darkly thrilling game stretches through ages, seeing Addie witness history and fight to regain herself as she crosses oceans and tries on various lives. It will be 300 years before she stumbles into a hidden bookstore and discovers someone who can remember her name. And suddenly everything changes again. So yeah, she basically makes a deal with someone to live forever, but the catch is that no one will remember her. One time she goes into a bookstore, someone remembers her name, and she's like, whoa, this doesn't happen, what's going on? So I've heard good things about this book. I've heard it's very like romantic, magical. Really excited to read this book, honestly. This is also, I think I just said that, but very high on my radar for the fall. And then for the last three books, I forgot about these. These are the ones I have on my phone. So the first one is Out of the Woods. This is by Hannah Bonham Young. She is the author of Out on a Limb, and I loved that book so much. It was so sweet. And this is the book that comes after it. It's about Sarah and Caleb, which this is interesting because this couple was already together in Out on a Limb. And I think this one is just kind of them rediscovering their relationship and rebuilding it. So it sounds very interesting. It says, for the past 17 years, they have had each other's backs through all of life's up and downs, achievements, losses, stages, and phases, but Sarah has begun to wonder, who is she without her other half? When she decides to take on a project of her own, a fundraising gala in memoriam of her late mother, Sarah wants nothing more than to prove to herself and to everyone else that she doesn't need Caleb's help to succeed. She's still her mother's daughter after all, independent and capable. That is until the event fails and Caleb uninvitingly steps in to save the the day. The rift that follows unearths a decade of grievances between them, and doubts begin to grow. Are they truly the same people they were when they got married at 19? Are they supposed to be? In a desperate attempt to fix what they fear is near breaking, Sarah and Caleb make the spontaneous decision to join a grueling hiking trip intended to guide couples through rough patches. What follows is a life-affirming comedy of errors as two nature-averse people fight their way out of the woods in order to find their way back to their roots. Sounds like a nice comedy romance, but also deep, and I found that in Out on a Limb. It was sweet, but also a very deep book to read, so I'm excited to read Out of the Woods. This is also such an easy read to read in between other books that I'm reading. The next book is Wild Card by Elsie Silver. This is getting released in September, so it hasn't been released yet, but I'm really excited for this one. This is the last book in the Rose Hill series. I have loved almost every book in that series. The last one I didn't really like. This one I'm pretty sure is ex-boyfriend's dad trope, which is interesting. I've never read a book like that before. This one says Sebastian is a grumpy, hot as hell fire pilot who is damn good with his hands. It's the perfect combination, but unfortunately for me, he's also my ex-boyfriend's dad. A chance meeting brought us together and a misconnection has kept us apart. 1 year later, a stroke of fate has us living under the same roof, which makes everything between us downright messy. He's working on mending a fragile relationship with his son, and we both know acting on these urges would be the ultimate betrayal. But I see the heat in his eyes, the look of need that never fails to send a shiver down my spine. The mutual longing is borderline unbearable, and the simmering heat between us is downright palpable. We both know there are rules when it comes to situations like this, but then again, following the rules has been my strong suit. So this is going to be honestly really interesting to read. I've never read a book like this, like I just said. So I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. The ex-boyfriend must have done something extremely bad for me not to feel bad for him, because I'm going to be damn. Imagine your dad getting with your ex-girlfriend. He needs to do something bad for me to be okay, this is kind of valid. The last book is The Darkest Corner of the Heart by Lizina Coney. I don't know if I probably didn't say that right, but this is the same author as something Sunshine. What is it? The Brightest Light of Sunshine. And I loved that book so much. I gave that book 4.5 stars. It was so good. And I didn't realize that book was in a series. There's 2 other books, so it's a trilogy. This is one that I read and I was like, this sounds very interesting. It also sounds perfect for the fall time, but this book says forbidden. That's what they are to each other. Maddie Stevens has never felt good enough. Not good enough to keep her parents' love, not good enough to build the future she wants. When she injures her ankle before a ballet audition, that could change her career forever. She's convinced her life is over at 21. And because the universe has a cruel sense of humor, her physical therapist turns out to be a tank-shaped grouch who doesn't even seem to like her that much. It's totally unfair that for 6 weeks she's forced to look at that handsome beard and listen to that deep voice that makes her head all dizzy. Top that with the fact that he's 10 years her senior. What does that mean? And falling for James Simmons is a recipe for disaster, but when their forced proximity makes the lines start blurring, the forbidden temptation becomes impossible to resist. This is her physical therapist. She injures herself while doing something in ballet. I think in the last book, the girl also did ballet, so I wonder if we're going to see those characters. That would be so exciting. I love a good forced proximity romance where they have to see each other. They don't want to, but they have to. And she's like, damn, I kind of hate you, but you're also kind of attractive. So what am I going to do about that? Sounds like a really interesting book that I want to read. It is kind of long. Again, I don't know if it's a book I'm going to get to, but I have been thinking about it a lot ever since I added it to my TBR on Goodreads. So this is one that I might get to in the fall time. So who knows? There's a lot of books on my TBR that I'm questioning if I'm gonna get to, but we will see. That is it though for my fall TBR. I have so many books that all fell, but I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have more recommendations for me, hand them over, even though I probably don't need any more, but I hope you guys got recommendations from seeing my TBR. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, turn on your post notifications so you know when I post my next video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!